So some people have asked me my opinions on the recent preseason balance update. There was a lot of major changes to a few champions in this patch, and it will greatly affect their viability in games, both negatively and positively. Freak talks with his co-worker in the patch preview video about the major changes and updates that are going into the next patch. I'm going to follow along in this video and talk about each change and give my opinion on it. I'm not sure everyone will agree with me, but that's fine. If you don't want to watch this type of video, please close it now. They also go on to talk about the changes to Talon. Feral Pony says all the changes in Season 3 have really pushed AD casters and assassins over the edge. There are two things I think he could be referring to. The AD cost of reduction of multiple items, and of course, the Black Cleaver. However, Black Cleaver was then nerfed, and I kind of felt we were at a good point in terms of balance. They're reducing the base damage and the AD ratio on Shadow Assault, his ultimate. On top of that, Feral Pony explains how they found a bug with Talon's E ability, Cutthroat, where it wasn't applying the damage amplification. Pretty crazy how people play Talon for that long without realising this. Someone correct me if this isn't the case, please. They then fixed the bug, which caused a massive spike in his late game damage. So as a reaction to this, they are reducing the damage of his Q ability, Noxian Diplomacy. I really don't feel that this was the right direction for them to take to deal with this specific problem. I feel Talon was in a good place as it was. And then they also go on to talk about the changes to Riven. Feral Pony explains how some of the changes in the Season 3 patch were designed to help these AD casters and assassins in their mid and late game, and it achieved that. They're targeting Riven's early game with these nerfs, which saddens me because, in my honest opinion, like Talon, I didn't think she needed to be touched at all. The whole point of Riven is to snowball the laning phase and take advantage of her early game, and try to win sub 40 minutes. The main early game change they are making for her is the reduction in her base HP regen. At least they aren't reducing her early AD ratios, like with Talon, but I still feel it's an unnecessary change. They're also increasing the cooldown of her ultimate at early ranks, which Feral Pony explains is meant to stop Riven snowballing out of control in the laning phase. Like I said before, I still kinda feel that's the point of her as a champion, but I guess I could be wrong. Freak tells us in the video how they're going to be reverting the nerfs to Rengar and Diana, and this is one of the changes that I actually agree with. Rengar is also being heavily showered with buffs and changes. They're changing the way his W, Battle Roar, works. Rather than scaling off max percent HP, it goes off your champion level. I like this change as it opens up more Rengar builds rather than just stacking HP mindlessly. Feral Pony also explains how Rengar's special item, Bone Tooth Necklace, is receiving a slight buff in attack damage to make it less useless. Evelynn is also receiving some changes and nerfs. Feral Pony and Freak discuss how a unique champion like Evelynn, who plays such a different role to everyone else, is difficult to balance, and I agree. They're nerfing the range on her ultimate, Agony's Embrace, and changing the damage it does from percent of maximum health to percent of current health, making it more of a spell you do at the start of a fight rather than a bursty execute spell. I actually like and agree with these changes, as it puts Eve in a slightly less powerful position to completely burst one guy down, which was the main problem with her to begin with. But they are not done yet. Lee Sin, our favourite blind monk, is also receiving some well-deserved and expected nerfs. They also played this sound clip from last year's April Fools.
Lee Sin is a ranged, melee, tanky DPS, assassin, mage, tank, support, jungler. He excels at everything.
As Feral Pony said, it's sad to say this is too true. He's a Superman of League of Legends. His popularity really started picking up after Diamond Pro X dominated the EU West scene with him for a few months. Currently he's a very contested pick and is often seen, picked or banned in pretty much all ELOs. There are two of his abilities Riot is changing. They're removing the armor bonus from his W, Iron Will, and they're reducing the cast range and also the slow of his E ability, Cripple. I also agree with this change. In my opinion, Lee Sin was just too much of a popular champion in all parts of League of Legends, and for him not to need some kind of change would be ridiculous. Finally, there are some tweaks and changes to the jungle. Riot still feels AoE junglers are still getting too much benefit from this in the jungle. Responding to this, Riot is taking some of the HP from the smaller minions and putting it into the bigger one. This will help out these single target junglers a bit more, and I totally agree with this change, because I think it should spice up the pool of available junglers a little bit more. They're also putting some gold back into the jungle camps to make the trade-off of farming rather than ganking or roaming the map a bit more fair. This is just to add some incentive to farm the jungle rather than pressuring lanes all the time. Feral Pony also says how certain carry junglers like Nocturne will benefit from this and scale into the late game better. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video and want to see similar ones for future patches or updates, please let me know by leaving a comment and a like. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you next time.